What's up, YouTube? I'm here to do my prediction video for UFC Fight Night Ozdemir versus Smith. Let's start at the bottom. The first fight is Stevie Ray versus Jasen. I can't say his last name. And to me, Jasen looks like he's decent, well-rounded. You know, he's got striking and jiu-jitsu. But to me, he's just okay. I feel like Stevie Ray's the same. He's got striking jiu-jitsu, but I just feel like he's a little bit better everywhere. That's why I'm leaning towards Stevie Ray. I think that Stevie Ray will... I don't know if he'll finish him, but I think he just edges every round just because, like I said, I think he's slightly better everywhere and just gets a 30-27 decision. Next is Arjun Buller versus Marco Golem. And this is basically two striker wrestler guys, and I just think Arjun Buller is the better wrestler. Marco's probably a little bit better of a striker, but I feel like the way he fights, he likes to clinch a lot, and that's just going to favor Arjun in every single situation. I think they're going to continuously clinch with each other, and Arjun's just going to get the better of the grappling. And I think he just edges every round, kind of like how I had Stevie Ray. I got Arjun edging every round and just getting a 30-27 decision. Next is Trayvon Edwards versus Don Maggi. And, you know, Don, he's from South Africa. I mean, it's cool to see dudes from there just because there's been so few. But his record's just okay. He's like 7-3. And, I mean... I don't really know how he's getting this shot. Like I said, his record is just super mediocre. Trayvon Edwards is like 7-1 with all of his wins coming by knockout. I just feel like Trayvon is going to keep this on the feet and probably win by knockout. Like, if Don could get this to the ground, he is really well-rounded and his jiu-jitsu is pretty decent. He could have a shot, but I just don't see that happening. I think Trayvon probably knocks him out in the first. I think this stays standing. He's just much faster on the feet, in my opinion. Next is Sasha Moraes versus... Tatiana, I can't say this chick's last name, but to me these chicks are the same. They're like striker jiu-jitsu chicks, but I think Sarah's just better everywhere. I've only seen them both fight a couple times, but she just looks stronger everywhere, and I'm just leaning towards Sarah. Next is Calvin Kattar versus Chris Fishgold, and with guys like Chris Fishgold, it's really hard to tell how good they are, because, I mean, his record's 17-1, and almost all of his wins come by submission. But it's hard to tell how good he's actually going to be against, like, real solid wrestlers in the UFC. Like, can he get fights to the ground like that? We've seen guys come over from England with records like that. And, like, they'll do decently, but it's hard to tell how good they actually are getting fights to the ground until you see them fight good wrestlers. And it's just because of that fear. Like, Calvin Kattar, I don't think I've ever seen him getting taken down. He's only got, like, 3 or 4 fights in the UFC, but... I mean, he was just ranked in the top 15 until his last fight where he lost a decision to the guy who's ranked like number 4 in the world, that Brazilian dude. Yeah, like I said, I think Calvin Kattar's got good takedown defense, and he's definitely the much better striker, and that's just what I see happening. I think Calvin Kattar's just going to be able to keep the distance, keep it on the feet, and just outstrike him, and probably get a knockout sooner or later. Like I said, you never know. Chris Fishgold could have insane wrestling for the UFC, and with his submission ability, just, like, rack up the wins, but... I just don't see it happening coming from England. I don't think his wrestling's going to be good enough to take Calvin down. I think Calvin just lights him up and gets a knockout in like the second round. Next is Tabik Gutai versus Nasrat. Can't say his last name. Nasrat really impressed me in his last fight. I felt like he showed great striking and great takedown defense. Much better than in his debut. I think his conditioning is really good. Like, that was in his debut too. Like, he doesn't look like he gets that tired. And to me, Tabit, you know, I feel like he is like this striker kind of wrestler jiu-jitsu guy, but he's just not super great anywhere. Like, I mean, he's definitely got the advantage in overall grappling. I just don't think he'll be able to get it to the ground that often. And I think Nasrat has the better conditioning and will just be able to swarm Gutai. I think, like I said, he's got better power and better striking, and I just see this being a back-and-forth striking fight until Nasrat starts to, like, put the pressure on him, and I think he gets a late second-round knockout for Nasrat. I got Nasrat winning. Next, we got Nordine Taleb versus Sean Strickland, and these two guys fight exactly the same. They're not super great at getting knockouts, but they're phenomenally technical, and they both fight at a good pace. I think this kind of just comes down to who can edge out every round, and I think Nordine will. I think he's just slightly better with his striking, and I also think that if he needs to get the takedowns, his wrestling's slightly better. I do think this is going to be a super close fight. I think whoever wins is probably going to win by split decision, because, like I said, they fight basically the exact same. They fight super technical, super long, with very clean, straight strikes, and this is kind of who's probably having a better night that night. But like I said, I do just feel like Nordine's just a little bit better with his technique and a little bit better with his wrestling. So I got Nordine getting a close split decision. Next, we move on to the main card. We got Alex Garcia versus Court McGee. And This all depends on Court. I feel like Court definitely has a style that can really make it hard for Alex. I think he's got great pressure and great volume, and Alex has a hard time keeping pace with those type of guys. And I think that if Court can just continuously go at him for all 3 rounds, he could eventually get like a 3rd-round knockout. It just depends if he can keep doing that, and like if he gets taken down, get back up. Because Alex Garcia is great at hitting takedowns, and Court needs to work on getting back up. If Court can continuously get back up and make Alex work, I can see him easily getting a 3rd-round knockout or a decision win. And that's what I'm hoping. I think Court, as long as he worked on his takedown defense and his ability to get back up, he should be able to outwork Alex Garcia in every situation. And, yeah, I got Court winning by 3rd-round TKO. Next, we got Gil Vellante versus Ed Herman. And to me, Gil Vellante is just closer to the prime of his career, I guess is the best way to put it. You know, Ed Herman is almost 40. He's like 38, 39. And both these guys are, like, boxers. I feel like Gil Vellante is a stronger wrestler. Like, if Ed Herman could get this to the ground, he could win because his jiu-jitsu is really good. I just don't see it happening. I think Vellante is too big and strong, especially since he's the better wrestler. I think this is going to be a striking fight, and like I said, I think Vellante is just closer to his prime at this point. I mean, Ed Herman could catch him, but realistically, Vellante, in my opinion, is just a little too big and a little bit faster and younger and stronger overall. So I got Vellante winning by like 2nd-round TKO. Next, we got Andrei Sukumtov versus Jonathan Martinez, and Jonathan Martinez looks decent, but this is the problem, is this is his 3rd fight in 3 years. He's fought 1 time in 2016, 1 time in 2017, and this is his first fight in 2018. His record's 9-1, and he looks like he's like a striker with some decent jiu-jitsu. And to me, I just have a hard time having faith in that pick because it's like, even though he looks like a good up-and-comer, his inconsistency worries me. I feel like Andrei Sukumtov, you know, he's 1-3 in the UFC, but 2 of those losses easily could have went his way. And then he had the loss against Sean O'Malley, where I swear to God, he got paid off. Like, there's no fucking way a dude's walking around with a broken leg, and you keep trying to take him down. Like, that was horse shit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not a huge conspiracy theorist, but, like, if I was fighting somebody and his leg was broken, I would kick it. I would try to take him down so he could survive the round. Either way, yeah, I think that Andrei Sukumtov is the better striker of the two, and I think that, like I said, his consistency is a huge factor. I'm going to go with Andrei Sukumtov. I say he wins by knockout or TKO, probably in the 1st or 2nd round. Next is Misha Korshkov versus Patrick Cummings, and to me, Misha Korshkov is just better everywhere. I think his wrestling is the only area where Patrick Cummings has an advantage, but I think striking and jiu-jitsu, he's got a huge advantage. I also think takedown defense, his is really solid. I feel like Patrick Cummings is just, his only hope is to get this to ground, and I don't think he'll be able to. I think this is going to be just like the Little Knock fight. I think Cummings will attempt a few takedowns, Korshkov will stuff him, and eventually he'll land a good combination on Patrick and then just light him up. I got Misha Korshkov winning by 1st-round knockout. Next, we got Michael Johnson versus Artem Lobov, and I see this fight being exactly like the Andre Fili fight. I think it'll be back and forth on the feet, and then Michael Johnson will hit takedowns whenever he wants. I feel like even though Michael Johnson's taking this fight on short notice, he's just way better than Artem is. You know, Artem is a decent striker, and he can hit decent takedowns because he's got good like throws and stuff. But overall, Michael Johnson's just a much better wrestler and more well-rounded overall. I think he's faster too. And this was I see happening. I think it'll be fun while it's on the feet, and then I think it'll be really boring when it's on the ground because, like I said, I think Michael Johnson will just take him down and then just be on top of him like the last minute of every round. And I just think Michael Johnson edges out every round and wins by 30-27 decision. Finally, we got Volkan Ozdemir versus Anthony Smith, and I like Anthony Smith. I hope he wins this fight, but he realistically isn't. I think Volkan's just too big. He's too tall and too long. I think these guys fight very similarly. They like fighting these long striking fights, and I just feel like Ozdemir's got the power advantage. I think he's longer, taller, and just hits harder. And I see that happening. I think this will be a fun striking fight for as long as it lasts, but I don't think he gets out of the 1st round. I think Ozdemir is eventually going to catch him and just win by knockout. Like I said, I just think he's the better striker overall, too. And if he honestly needed to, I think he could get this fight to the ground whenever he wanted to. He's so big. Like, when he fought Daniel Cormier, he looked like a fucking giant. Like, even though Daniel Cormier took him down repeatedly, like, he's so tall. I just feel like if he wanted to, he could just, like, walk people down. But, yeah, I got Ozdemir. I think he wins by 1st round knockout. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Please like and subscribe.